Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Silver Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Becomes Demon Slayer? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Where am I? Izuku Midoriya looked around. He was in some forest, snow under his feet. It was an appealing sight, but a confusing one. How am I here? I'm pretty sure this isn't Muzutafu. The boy shuffled up onto his feet and he shivered. It was pretty cold and he wasn't necessarily wearing snow-appropriate attire. Before this all happened, Midoriya had gone to a store to pick up the snacks for his class movie night. He didn't remember how a young boy had seen him drop some money, picked it up and handed it to him, touching Midoriya's hand. It was the outcome of a quirk, to which the boy accidentally activated. On the way back to the dorms, Midoriya was thinking about how excited everyone was to watch the show called Demon Slayer. He never watched it before, but according to the majority of his classmates, it was an exciting series. Suddenly he grew dizzy, and a few moments later he passed out, and awoke to this unfamiliar setting. Hey guys? Have any of you seen Midoriya? He still hasn't come back with our snacks. Kaminari whined dramatically. Oh, hush up, Kaminari. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Jur rolled her eyes, setting up the blankets. The entirety of Class 1A was in the living room. But better hurry the F up or I'm starting without him. I don't give a DMN if he hasn't watched this. Bakugo sat down on the couch angrily. Uraraka made herself comfortable on the floor with pillows and blankets surrounding her. She looked out the windows of the UA dorms. I hope he's okay, she thought, growing worried. 30 minutes had passed, and no sign of the green-haired teen. Some people were starting to get concerned, but most were annoyed. Guess we'll just have to explain the beginning when he comes back. Mina shrugged and exhaled disappointedly. Murmurs of agreement rang around the room. Izuku walked and walked, shivering from the cold. He almost collapsed when suddenly yelling caught his attention. His eyes and ears perked up. He started running towards the noise. He hid behind a tree and his eyes widened. A boy? And a girl. Nezuko! Hang on, Nezuko! Don't give in! The boy yelled. He was yelling multiple phrases about her not giving up on something. Izuku noticed how he was holding a stick against her mouth. Is she trying to attack him? Should I intervene? Suddenly he heard running from another direction. He tried hiding himself even more against the tree. A man with a sword ran to the two on the ground and he was gonna strike them with it. Izuku moved out of the tree's way, but then he suddenly flew back. An enormous gust of wind had hit him and he stumbled back. Oh no, are they okay? Midoriya ran and leaned against the tree, immediately looking for the boy and girl. He exhaled when he realized they were okay, but the girl was struggling against the boy holding her back. The man with the sword suddenly spoke. You call that thing your sister? He said. Midoriya's blood immediately boiled in anger. Who does he think he is, insulting someone's family member like that? He blinked and the girl was no longer with her brother, but in the hands of the man. A large gust of wind suddenly surrounded them and Midoriya flinched. He couldn't see anything but he could still hear. My job is to slay every demon I find. Which means I have to decapitate you, sister here. Izuku pressed his hands against his mouth to stifle a gasp. Demon? Decapitate? Seriously? He heard the boy argue back, defending his sister. Midoriya listened closely to an explanation of how demons form. Suddenly the man raised his sword and the boy screamed, begging him to not kill his sister. Izuku couldn't wait any longer. He came out from hiding and using Black Whip, he restrained the man from being able to move his arm. The man's face didn't change from the emotionless expression it had on. The boy's eyes widened at the green-haired boy who was glaring at the one who attempted to decapitate his sister. Please, don't kill his sister. Do you have any idea of how traumatizing it is to see a family member's head get cut off in front of you? Midoriya yelled. The man glared back. You're not very good at hiding, he said bluntly. Who even are you? Why are you dressed in clothes that are the complete opposite of what you are supposed to be wearing during the winter? This is none of your business, get away from here. He then turned angrily to the boy who was begging on the floor. And you! Don't grovel like that and give your enemies the chance to kill you. Both boys' eyes widened as the man lectured them. The burgundy-haired boy's eyes started to tear up as the man yelled at him. The man suddenly kicked snow at Midoriya's face. He stumbled back falling and he gasped in surprise, his hands instinctively going up to his face and letting Black Whip go in the process. He stabbed the girl in the chest and her brother screamed, "Don't you touch her!" The boy threw a rock to which the man dodged. Another gust of wind surrounding everything, making it difficult to see. By the time Midoriya was able to see clearly, he saw the boy on the ground knocked unconscious and an axe, barely missing the man's head, his eyes widened. Suddenly the boy's sister kicked the man and started running towards her brother. But Izuku saw no intention of friendliness in her. He was about to use Black Whip to restrain her when suddenly she stood protectively in front of her brother. A few moments later she tried attacking the man, to which he knocked her out seconds later. Midoriya realized both the boy and the girl were knocked out, giving the swordsman a chance to kill the girl he'd been wanting to decapitate. Wait. Don't worry, I won't kill her. The swordsman seemingly read his mind. Now, are you gonna tell who exactly you are? And what exactly were those black tendrils that shot out of your hand? Midoriya shrank back a little at his gaze. I'm Izuku Midoriya, and that was part of my quirk? I don't exactly know where I am. I was trying to get back to my class when suddenly I passed out and woke up here in this forest. The boy looked down with his brows furrowed. The things you were talking about. Demons? They exist here. He looked up at the man whose face reminded him so much of the scar-faced boy back in UA. The swordsman tilted his head. Quirk? The green-haired teen nodded. I'm definitely not where I'm supposed to be if you don't know what a quirk is. It's like a superpower. I have a strength enhancer, and those tendrils are called Black Whip, he explained. The man simply stared and then sighed. Okay then. Let me tell you the story of demons, and how our job as demon slayers is important. Then suddenly it clicked. Midoriya's eyes widened. Demon slayer? Am I in the show my friends wanted to watch? But how? He shook his head. I've never seen it before. It's definitely important for me to listen to this guy. Class 1A were in their respectful spots in the living room, watching the TV. I love Nezuko, she's so cute. Tsuyu exclaimed, cupping her face. Some people were heard agreeing with her. You say that as she's trying to attack her brother? Ida shook his head with a faint smile. The scene changed to Tomioka running towards the siblings. You guys cannot convince me that he does not remind you of Todoroki. Shiro crossed his arms waiting for someone to think they could unconvince him. Todoroki had a small smile. Nah, I'm with you on that one. Kaminari started laughing. The Tanjiro on screen screamed at the Hashira, begging him not to kill his sister. Although mostly everyone already watched this scene, some were practically shaking in their seats of the intense scene. They all watched Tomioka raise his sword slightly when suddenly a black tendril was seen wrapping around the Hashira's wrist. Wait, what? I don't remember this happening. Kirishima tilted his head in confusion. Me neither. What? Hagakure exclaimed. Suddenly the scene changed. The camera was behind Tomioka's head, slowly going to side to reveal a familiar green-haired boy, who was wearing the dumbest clothes you can during winter, the giveaway of their classmate being the white t-shirt saying shirt. He was glaring at Tomioka with a black, outlined in a light teal color tendril, shooting out of his hand. Bakugo suddenly grabbed the remote and paused it right where you can see the entirety of Midoriya's face and upper body. Everyone froze, not making a sound. Then Bakugo spoke. For the love of all might, please, tell me that is not the dim nerd. How the actual hell? Kaminari screamed. Midoriya? Todoroki's eyes widened. Is he stuck in the T.V? Ojiro suddenly stood up, seriously concerned for his classmate. We should notify the teachers. Mina yelled, throwing off the blanket over her and starting to get up. The class scrambled in a panic. A few took out their phone to take a picture, others tried contacting the teachers, others were still frozen in place staring at the screen. The principal clasped his paws together looking at the green-haired boy on screen. This is quite the predicament. Midnight placed her hands on her hips. This is most likely the outcome of a quirk. But like, how? What kind of quirk would get him stuck in a show, on T.V? Why is it always Midoriya? Aizawa sighed, placing a hand on his forehead. You said this was a show, right? Maybe in order for him to get out we have to watch it all in order. Present Mike suggested. Some students looked at each other in worry. Of all the shows, he just had to get stuck in this one. Shoji looked down, his face an expression of pure fear. Why, what's wrong with this show? All Might grew worried for his successor. He'd hoped perhaps this was an ordinary show that he'd be able to get out of in no time. The 1A students look at each other in worry once again. Kaminari spoke, his face pale. This show is very gruesome. Midoriya has to worry about not getting mercilessly devoured by demons. All the teachers' eyes widened in horror. And with him being there, he's completely changing the timeline. We have absolutely no idea what is going to happen. Only the major demons he might encounter. Uraraka shakily placed her hands on her face, white as a ghost, worried for her friend. He doesn't even know what he's about to go through. Yaoyorozu exclaimed, her fists balled up. He's never watched it before. The teachers sighed. How many hours do you estimate we'll have to watch before it ends? Vlad King asked. Not hours. Guys, I know we are all going to be shaking in suspense watching him, but we have to remember to take breaks, eat, drink, and sleep. Sato said. Some hesitantly nodded. Should we transfer this to a larger T.V? Cementos asked. Everyone agreed. The 1A students began making the space larger since the teachers would now be joining them. Present Mike went to join Cementos to get a larger TV. About 30 minutes later, everything was now set up. All the students were situated in their spots, not very spread out, as they knew extremely intense scenes would show, and they'd rather be next to someone when those scenes came. The teachers were also seated. All right, everyone, I want you all to take a deep breath in and out. We know this is going to be really intense. I've watched this show just a little, but we have to try our best to not panic. All right. Aizawa told the entire class. Everyone had followed what he said about breathing. Okay, get ready, I'm unpausing. Bakugo said, lifting the remote. The scene unpaused from where Midoriya was glaring at Tomioka. Please, don't kill his sister. Do you have any idea of how traumatizing it is to see a family member's head get cut off in front of you? Midoriya yelled. Tomioka stood there emotionless until he glared back. Some of the class giggled, saying how thoughtful Midoriya was. You're not very good at hiding, Tomioka said to Midoriya bluntly. The class pondered for a moment. Hiding? Who even are you? Why are you dressed in clothes that are the complete opposite of what you are supposed to be wearing during the winter? This is none of your business, get away from here. He then turned angrily to Tanjiro. And you? Don't grovel like that and give your enemies the chance to kill you. Aizawa shook his head. He's kind of right. The TV showed how both of the boys' eyes widened as Tomioka lectured them both. Geez, Tomioka can be so harsh sometimes. Mineta shrank a little at how the Hashira was yelling at Tanjiro and his classmate. The class gasped when Tomioka suddenly kicked snow at Midoriya's face. The green-haired boy stumbled back, falling and gasping in surprise, his hands instinctively going up to his face and letting Black Whip go in the process. Tomioka stabbed Nezuko in the chest and Tanjiro screamed, "Don't you touch her!" He threw a rock at Tomioka, to which he dodged with ease. A gust of wind surrounded everything, making it difficult to see. All Might's sweat dropped at how Midoriya let go of Black Whip because of that swordsman's kick of snow. If he used Black Whip to restrain a villain and the villain made a similar move like that, it would be horribly dangerous. The scene showed Tanjiro how Tanjiro and Nezuko were now knocked out on the floor by Tomioka. Midoriya quickly whipped his head towards Tomioka. "Wait, dash!" he yelled, but Tomioka assured the boy he would no longer hurt the girl. Instead he asked about who Midoriya was and what his tendrils were all about. To which Midoriya explained to him about quirks. The class sweat dropped when Midoriya started explaining how he was pretty sure he was no longer in his world. Midoriya asked about demons. Tomioka said he'd explain it all to him. The scene showed Midoriya's thoughts to the entire class. "What? Am I in the show my friends wanted to watch? But how?" Midoriya shook his head. "I've never seen it before. It's definitely important for me to listen to this guy. Yes, Midoriya, you are in there. Mina yelled at the screen. Yes, please listen to him or you're gonna have no clue what you're about to face. Ida said. Tokoyami shuddered. Don't you guys feel like it's a violation of privacy that the TV is saying his thoughts? Some shrugged. The screen suddenly turned black and Tanjiro was shown starting to wake up. Tomioka asked if Tanjiro was awake and he immediately shielded his sister. He looked to the side and saw Midoriya next to him looking calmly at Tomioka. What? We didn't even get to see the interaction between Midoriya and Tomioka? Kaminari exhaled. We were robbed. Hagakure fell over dramatically. Tomioka said for both Tanjiro and Midoriya to head to Mount Sajiri as soon as possible to find a man named Sakanji Urokodaki. He told Tanjiro explicitly to not let Nezuko be exposed to sunlight, and then he seemingly disappeared. Shiro gasped. Are we gonna see a montage of Tanjiro and Midoriya training together? Tanjiro sat frozen staring at the spot where Tomioka once was. A hand was shown reaching towards Tanjiro. The burgundy-haired boy looked at the hand and then up. The green-haired teen had a very faint smile. Midoriya introduced himself and Tanjiro grabbed his hand, pulling himself up, nodding in thanks. Tanjiro also introduces himself and for Nezuko as well. I don't know if I should envy Midoriya for being able to meet Tanjiro and Nezuko, Aoyama said. Mina elbowed him lightly. Hello. Do you want to encounter man-eating demons? Aoyama quickly shook his head. The TV showed 5 graves. Tanjiro was on his knees praying with his eyes closed. Midoriya stood next to Nezuko in sadness. Tanjiro stood back up after a few seconds. Let's go, Tanjiro said to Midoriya and Nezuko. The siblings holding hands, Midoriya walking alongside them with a pained expression. Tanjiro looked back towards the graves. Midoriya gently laid a palm on Tanjiro's shoulder trying to give him any comfort. Tanjiro grunted and closed eyes, looking forward. Midoriya saw determination in his eyes once Tanjiro opened them. He looked at Midoriya and nodded, reassuring he was okay. Midoriya nodded back and gave him a small smile. Then the 3 of them ran off deeper into the forest. The episode ended. In the class there were very few people crying a little at the deaths of Tanjiro's family. So much was said between Midoriya and Tanjiro, and they didn't speak. The only words said were from Tanjiro, and he was talking to his sis and Midoriya, Jiru said. Ugh, why do I get so emotional whenever I see those graves? Mina wailed dramatically. Come on, next episode Bakugo. I need to see them training, Kirishima said excitedly. Bakugo looked at his homeroom teacher for confirmation if it was okay to play another episode. The teacher nodded. All right, next episode. Bakugo raised the remote. Click. Next episode chapter text. The scene showed a crow and then Tanjiro's voice. Tanjiro was asking a man for resources to make a basket. Where is Midoriya? Bujiro asked. Maybe he's with Nezuko, Yaoyorozu replied. The class started laughing as Tanjiro demanded he pay the man who let him use some resources. Tanjiro was now standing in front of a small cave. He looked worried. The scene showed the inside of the cave to Midoriya sitting inside it. Tanjiro asked worriedly where Nezuko was. Midoriya laughed lightly, pointing to his side and back. Nezuko popped her head out of a hole deeper in the cave. But he stayed behind to make sure Nezuko was okay for Tanjiro. Uraraka smiled. How cute, Midnight said, tilting her head a little and smiling at the boy's thoughtfulness. Tanjiro began making a suitable basket for Nezuko, thinking about how his sister really wanted to stay out of the sunlight. Midoriya insisted he should help as Tanjiro already went through the trouble of getting the resources, but the burgundy-haired boy thanked him and waved him off that it was okay. The scene was back inside the cave where Tanjiro was trying to get Nezuko into the basket. Midoriya held onto the back of the basket so Nezuko could try to steadily get inside. Everyone burst out laughing at the look on Tanjiro and Midoriya's faces when Nezuko flopped into the basket and just laid there with the bottom half of her torso still outside. Even more when Nezuko threw herself upside down into the basket. The scene changed to a woman telling Midoriya and Tanjiro the sun was going to set soon and it was dangerous to be on their way to Mount Sajiri. Midoriya and Tanjiro assured the woman that they'd be okay. As they went further down the trail, the woman yelled, "You boys be careful. There's been people going missing lately. Don't get lost, okay?" Midoriya yelled thanks back and Tanjiro just waved with a smile. "Oh come on, it's Tanjiro and Midoriya. There's going to be nothing but pure chaos with those two." Kaminari started laughing. "They better know better than to be reckless," Vlad King commented. He'd seen how the green-haired boy purposely destroyed his body. It was now nighttime. The class grew tense. Tanjiro noticed a light on a temple they encountered and suggested they'd check it out, when suddenly Tanjiro's face contorted one into fear. Midoriya took note of this quickly and asked what was wrong. Midoriya paled. Tanjiro said he smelled the scent of blood. The boys took off running towards the building. Midoriya was seen using his quirk to run faster as lightning danced around him. Tanjiro looked surprised for a little, but it went back into one of worry. Midoriya threw open the doors and gasped. Tanjiro catched up, yelling if everyone was okay when suddenly he froze next to Midoriya, dropping the basket. The entire class and teachers shivered at the bloody and gruesome sight. Humans all bloody and torn up, obviously very long gone from being alive, were shown. A deep voice suddenly was heard talking about his territory and a bloody and angry face of a demon was shown on TV. "What are they still doing there?" Cementos exclaimed. He shuddered at the creepy sight. Both Midoriya's and Tanjiro's thoughts were thinking the same thing. "It's a demon." The demon asked if the two boys and girl were humans. Suddenly both Midoriya and Tanjiro were seen getting kicked back strongly and onto the ground. Tanjiro sliced the neck of the demon slightly. Midoriya quickly recovered, helping Tanjiro up. His hero training wasn't for anything. Everyone in the dorms sat on the edge of their seats. They all saw how demons can quickly regenerate. The demon grew annoyed. He called the boys pests. Midoriya ran angrily. The scene showed how he was thinking of the humans that were dead inside the temple. Using that anger, he used his quirk to attempt to kick the demon on the side. The demon was quicker and grabbed the side of Midoriya's leg, throwing him harshly against the ground. Tanjiro screamed, "Midoriya!" Some students were standing now, unable to keep sitting because of the growing tension. Lots of them gasped when they saw Midoriya get harshly thrown. Some screaming for Midoriya to get back up onto his feet. The demon took his chance of Midoriya being occupied on the floor and launched himself towards Tanjiro. He threatened the boy, boasting how he was going to snap his neck. Midoriya yelled at the demon to leave Tanjiro alone when suddenly the demon's head went flying towards a tree. Tanjiro and Midoriya were left stunned to see that. The result of that was from Nezuko kicking his head like a soccer ball. Some of the class let out a breath they didn't know they were holding in. Many of them still knew it wasn't over yet. Tanjiro exclaimed how Nezuko killed the demon. Midoriya gasped, screaming to watch out, as the demon's body was trying to grab Tanjiro. Luckily Nezuko kicked it away harshly onto the tree. "Please tell me it's over," All Might exhaled. Many students looked back at the blonde man with many worried looks. He had no idea the absolute dangers Midoriya was about to face. This was barely the beginning. All Might took their expressions as a no. The demon called the three kids BSs, demanding to know why a demon was traveling with two humans. The decapitated body of the demon started attacking Nezuko. Tanjiro quickly acted and tried swinging with his axe when suddenly the head of the demon started going towards him. Midoriya grabbed a hold of the demon's head using Black Whip before he could hurt Tanjiro, and the demon started complaining about how annoying they all were. Suddenly Midoriya glared at the head and launched him into the forest. The class broke out into cheers and some laughs when they saw how far Midoriya launched the demon's head. Tanjiro yelled for Nezuko and Midoriya quickly tried to act, but the demon's body grabbed Nezuko and threw her in the same direction Midoriya threw his head at. Midoriya and Tanjiro gasped. Wasting no time, Midoriya quickly grabbed Tanjiro's hand and he was practically flying through the forest by how fast he was running using his quirk. Tanjiro's thoughts were revealed as he was almost getting dragged by Midoriya. Such speed! If he met Ida he would faint. Aoyama lightly laughed. Tanjiro screamed looking around the forest, "Nezuko!" The boys finally caught up to where the girl was, the decapitated body of the demon still giving her a hard time. Tanjiro ran ahead of Midoriya and tackled the demon's body, not realizing he went straight onto the edge of the cliff. Some of the teachers gasped but then relaxed when Nezuko grabbed hold of her brother. Midoriya assisting her with pulling Tanjiro up. Midoriya then stood up looking back. His thought showed, where did the demon's head go? As if to answer his question, the demon's head suddenly flew at him laughing. Midoriya quickly caught him using Black Whip. The demon stunned realizing he forgot all about his power. The demon complained and thrashed trying to get out of the black tendrils. Tanjiro blinked at Midoriya, his thoughts displayed. He's doing that thing with his hands again. Just what is that thing? Everyone in the living room knew Tanjiro was talking about Midoriya's black WHP. I didn't realize before but. Tanjiro was shown getting off his knees, the camera showed him sniffing the air. This guy absolutely reeks of power. Tanjiro's eyes were shown widening at Midoriya. The camera showed the entirety of Midoriya who was shown, an outline filled in with a glowing light teal. He was glaring at the demon thrashing against his tendril restraints. The class shivered at the image. Why'd they make Midoriya look so scary like that? Jiraiya asked. He looks OP. Zero exclaimed excitedly. Why is he glowing? Todoroki asked. I think we are seeing an example of how this boy Tanjiro's nose depicts the scent of Midoriya, Nizu suggested, seeing how Tanjiro has a great sense of smell. The scene changed to Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Midoriya walking back to where the temple was. The demon was spewing insults at them. Midoriya was shown with a bored expression. This. Do you ever shut up? You lost, get over it, he said bluntly and used another tendril to cover the demon's mouth. The demon was now fuming in anger. The class and the teachers froze in shock. Did he just dash? No way he dash. He said what dash? Everyone burst out into laughter. Even some of the teachers started laughing lightly, trying to hide it. It was pretty rare to see Midoriya get annoyed. His bluntness with the demon made the situation 10 times funnier. When they finally got back to where the temple was, Midoriya dragged the demon and pinned him against a tree. Tanjiro suddenly pulled out a knife. He was looking at the demon and suddenly his breathing started to go faster. Tanjiro dash? Midoriya said worriedly. Suddenly a man came up to them and put a palm on Tanjiro's shoulder. Urokodaki! A lot of the class exclaimed at once. The man said calmly that the knife Tanjiro was holding was not gonna finish the demon off. Midoriya looked back at the demon. He asked what they were supposed to do then. The man replied with, You boys need to think for yourselves. Are you two not capable of solving your own problems? Midoriya and Tanjiro shrank back at his response. I like this guy already, Aizawa said. Some people laughed at that. The boys looked at each other and started talking strategies. Urokodaki's thoughts were spilled on how what he said went completely over their heads. Midoriya started saying how maybe he should strangle the demon to death, making himself shudder, and he quickly shook his head saying, Wait, no, that sounds so cruel and agonizing, and was currently trying to get the image out of his head. Tanjiro exclaimed on why he would say that out loud, now that image was stuck in both their heads. Laughs rang around the room as they saw Tanjiro and Midoriya shake their heads in the same directions simultaneously. Urokodaki's thoughts were heard on how the boys were never going to kill it with kindness reeking off both of them. The screen showed Tanjiro's outline of kindness was bigger than Midoriya's, but both were still bigger than the average person. How is there still kindness in Deku's weird outline when he literally just suggested strangling? Bakugo tilted his head confused. Suddenly the sun started to come up and the boys stopped and realized they took so long that light was already here. Suddenly the demon started screaming even louder and he started burning away, making the boys gasp in surprise. The demon screamed and burned until there was nothing left of him. Scary, Aoyama shuddered. I agree, getting burned away into nothing? Mineta nodded. I just know that hurts badly. Suddenly Tanjiro realized why Nezuko hated sunlight, and when he looked at where she used to stand, she was gone. Midoriya suggested she might be back in the basket and Tanjiro ran to the temple. Midoriya was right and she was. Midoriya had followed behind him. Midoriya spoke up, realizing the bodies were gone. Tanjiro went outside asking where the old man was. The boys went to the side of the house and saw Urokodaki holding a burial for the dead. Excuse me? Tanjiro spoke. The man got off the ground. My name is Sakanji Urokodaki. You two are the ones Ju Tomioka sent my way, correct? We are. My name is Tanjiro Kamadu. this is Izuku Midoriya, and my sister's name is Nezuko. Tanjiro introduced himself, for his sister, and for the green-haired teen next to him. Midoriya. Tanjiro. Urokodaki turned to face them. He pointed at Tanjiro. What do you intend to do with your sister if she eats a human? Tanjiro hesitated, and the result of that was a slap from Urokodaki. Midoriya gasped in shock. Sounds of gasps were heard. Almost everyone winced at the mark the man left on Tanjiro's cheek. Urokodaki explained to Tanjiro what he was supposed to do if Nezuko ate someone, and how he should at all costs not allow it to happen. He told Midoriya he had to do the exact same thing for traveling with them as well. He asked them if he was clear. The boys looked at each other for a second, and with determined eyes they said yes. Urokodaki told them to follow him. He asked Tanjiro to grab his sister. Did Midoriya really just agree to commit seppuku if that girl ate someone? Aizawa groaned. Yep. Anything for Nezuko. He barely even hesitated. The teachers sighed. The scene changed to the boys running after Urokodaki. Midoriya was more in front of Tanjiro. Midoriya stretched out a hand while running. Come on, Tanjiro. Tanjiro breathed and used up lots of strength to catch up and was able to grab onto Midoriya's hand. Tanjiro saw teal lightning beginning to dance around Midoriya's legs and realized what was about to happen. Midoriya looked at the box Nezuko was in and apologized. He started running faster than before, getting closer to Urokodaki. Tanjiro's thoughts were heard about him swearing he was going to turn his sister into a human again. Well, at least they're getting some endurance training. All Might winced at how Urokodaki was really making the boys on screen run. Mina agreed. I would have passed out for sure. Kaminari and Mineta agreed with her, making Aizawa quirk an eyebrow. Do I need to add an extra endurance lesson for you three? The teacher said. No, sir. The three quickly exclaimed. Aizawa had stifled a laugh due to their horrified faces. The camera showed Tanjiro and Midoriya breathing outside of a small house. Tanjiro looked like he was on the verge of passing out. He asked if that was enough to pass the test. The class laughed at the way Tanjiro thought the running was a test. The old Hashira claimed they were just beginning the test. Tanjiro gave a horrified expression. Midoriya wasn't as tired as him. His thoughts showed, I need to seriously thank every single teacher that has taught me at UA, and the wild pussycats for all that training. A little sweat drop symbol appeared next to his head. The teachers all smiled at how the boy thought of them. They were in the small house. Urokodaki told Tanjiro that he'd watch over his sister while he was gone. Tanjiro thanked him. The ex-Hashira turned towards Midoriya and handed him a pair of clothes. The green-haired boy thanked the man and grabbed the folded clothes. The scene changed to Midoriya and Tanjiro walking alongside Urokodaki up a misty and dark mountain. Tanjiro was shown struggling to breathe. Midoriya asked Tanjiro if he was okay. Tanjiro replied with, honestly, I'm not sure. He let out a weak laugh. Urokodaki stopped turning towards the boys. The both of you, find your way back to my house at the foot of the mountain. This time I won't day until daybreak. Urokodaki vanished just like Tomioka. Midoriya and Tanjiro stared at the spot where Urokodaki once stood. The green-haired teen looked around in worry. Don't worry, Midoriya. I memorized Urokodaki's scent. We'll follow it down the mountain, Tanjiro reassured with a smile and started running. Wait, Tanjiro, I don't think it's that easy. Midoriya yelled, beginning to follow him. Urokodaki reminded him of Gran Torino. The image of the retired pro-hero popped up in his head, like that time he asked to fight him, and the small old guy beat him mercilessly. All Might winced at the boy's memory. He let out a small laugh. Gran Torino was just as harsh when he was young. Oh come on, it'll be fine. Tanjiro got cut off when he realized he almost tripped over a rope. Midoriya froze immediately. His guard was already up, so he looked around to see what would happen. Aizawa smiled slightly. He had his guard up this entire time. That's good. Poor Tanjiro, he really thinks this training is gonna be easy. Hagakure sighed, cupping her face, not like anyone could see. Tanjiro, watch out. Tanjiro grunted when a few pairs of rocks flew at his face. He stumbled back onto some leaves, but it was a trap. Under the leaves was a pit where Tanjiro fell onto. Midoriya ran to him. crouching down and immediately sprouting a hand. I told you I didn't think it'd be that easy. Tanjiro grabbed his hand, his sweat dropped and made an embarrassed face. Learn from your fellow classmate, students. Nizu exclaimed. Bakugo paused the T to V so everyone could pay attention to the principal. One should never let their guard falter for even a second. Even if you have the upper hand in a situation, never underestimate your opponent. Yes, sir. The class yelled simultaneously. Bakugo unpaused the show. Midoriya pulled him up. He fell back and he quickly got up when he realized he landed on some rope. Suddenly it felt as if everything was going in slow motion. A yellow lightning bolt was displayed going through the teen's head. Midoriya's thoughts were heard. What is this sharp stabbing feeling in my head? Dash. It hurts. And his thoughts were true. Time went back to normal and a log suddenly swung at him out of nowhere and he yelped, landing on another rope. Time slowed again and the bolt showed on Midoriya's head again. Again? Time went back to normal and Midoriya crouched down. A large rock went over his head, barely touching the tips of his hair. Midoriya fell down in shock. He furrowed his brows and then stood back up. If we keep falling into traps, we're never gonna make it. Midoriya grew frustrated. He looked at Tanjiro, who was almost hyperventilating. Tanjiro. Huh, that's weird. Why does that bolt keep appearing on his head? Ida questioned. Maybe it was just random? Momo said, but her tone said she wasn't so sure. It has to mean something. Why would it make it so dramatic if it was random? Mina argued. She put her hands on her knees. It did look like time was slowing down. That doesn't happen for no reason. Uraraka squinted at the T at V. Bakugo looked towards All Might, but the blonde man was just staring with wide eyes at the screen. Could this be? Did he dash? All Might thought. Maybe he randomly got Spider-Man's Spidey sense. Zero shrugged. Wait, you might be onto something. Kaminari said excitedly. Ojiro spoke. Did you notice how the first time it showed up, he got hit? The second time he felt it, he immediately crouched and barely dodged the large rock? Yeah. Spidey sense. Zero said. All Might sighed. He knew exactly what it was. His successor managed to manifest another quirk. This one was called Danger Sense from the fourth user of One for All. He chuckled to himself. His classmates were not too far off. The dash. Tanjiro kept breathing harshly between words. Air here dash. It's so thin. Midoriya saw his eyes turn into a determined one. Come on, we have to make it. They both started running down. I feel like I'm going to dash. Pass out. Tanjiro halted for a moment. I can sniff out the traps. He closed his eyes, and Midoriya waited next to him. He never stopped looking around. Tanjiro opened his eyes and started running, stepping on multiple traps and dodging them. Midoriya was behind him, so he had to move quickly to dodge them, but every time a trap almost attacked him, he felt that sharp feeling in his head again. My head. It's throbbing. Midoriya's thoughts were shown. Tiny tears pricked at the edge of his eyes. The pain was just so much, it was agonizing. All while he was running and dodging, trying his best to be careful going down the mountain. The class grew worried for their on-screen classmate. The teachers as well felt bad for the teen. I can't even imagine the pain he's in. Gyre bit her nail, growing tense. Is it really so bad he looks like he's about to start crying? Todoroki said with eyes slightly wide. Deku barely even cries when he breaks bones. It must hella bad if he's crying over his head pain. Bakugo said he was slightly worried, not like he'd ever admit it. Poor little listener. Present Mike said, feeling immense worry for his student. The boys kept running with determination. Nezuko flashed on screen, being Tanjiro's reason for being determined. Midoriya's reason for determination also flashed on screen. It was his class and his teachers. How can I ever be good enough if I can't pass this test? The class and teachers gasped. Some S and Midoriya dash. S were heard. Kirishima wiped a fake tear. So manly. Thinking of us as a reason for determination. He's so sweet. Tsuyu said with stars in her eyes. Midoriya thought of all of them. You see that, Gyre, he thought of me. Kaminari starting shaking the girl's shoulder and she pushed him back, annoyed. He thought of everyone, you numbnut. She said. The scene changed to the inside of Urokodaki's house. The door opened and the two boys were seen messed up and breathing harshly. We made it. The scene changed and suddenly the voice of Tomioka was heard. Forgive my abruptness, Mr. Sakanji Urokodaki. I'm sending two boys your way who want to become Demon Slayer swordsmen. The boy, Tanjiro, was brazen enough to attack me unarmed. He has a keen sense of smell just like yourself. The boy, Midoriya, explained to me that he was supposedly from another world. He has powers: 1, a strength enhancer, and 2, he can extend black tendrils from his body. Tanjiro's family was slaughtered by a demon, and the surviving younger sister has become one, but I have determined that she will not attack humans. I'm asking you to please train these boys. Take care of yourself, from yours truly, Tomioka. Urokodaki was shown, his voice was heard. You boys are now my new students, Tanjiro Kamado and Izuku Midoriya. The episode ends. The class cheered. Midoriya is going to become a demon slayer. I'm so excited for them. Heck yeah. They're going to be overpowered. Different phrases of excitement were heard around the room. Don't get yourself killed, problem child. Aizawa said mentally. He looked at the time. Alright, 1, maybe 2 more episodes and then you guys have to rest. We'll continue in the morning, Aizawa announced. He grew annoyed by the whines of people complaining of just 1. Don't make me make it 0. The entire class shut up and scrambled into their seats. Aizawa gave a nod to Bakugo, letting him know it was okay to start episode. Click. Next episode chapter text. The scene began with Tanjiro writing a letter, Nezuko asleep next to him. Why is Midoriya nowhere to be found in the beginning of this episode either? Shiro asked specifically to no one. I'm going to guess he's with Urokodaki, Shoji replied. Shoji's prediction was correct. When Tanjiro opened a door, he was greeted by Midoriya. Urokodaki was also with him. Let's go, the retired Hashira said, standing up. Urokodaki went on to explain the history of the Demon Slayer Corp. He also explained how demons worked, their powers, and how to defeat them. The UTA teachers listened with great interest, taking mental notes on what Midoriya would have to face. The scene changed to Tanjiro and Midoriya running down the same mountain. Urokodaki's voice was heard that he was their teacher, and every teacher has a different way of teaching their students. The boys' voices were heard, each taking their turns in sharing their experience. The scene focused on Tanjiro. As of today, I'm going to start keeping a journal for Nezuko. I am descending the mountain again today with Midoriya. We're training so we can survive through the final selection. Day after day, I've made my way down the mountain, and I'm starting to learn how to avoid most of the traps. I'm even improving my sense of smell and getting even stronger. However, the traps are getting more difficult. I'm starting to think Urokodaki wants me dead. Everyone winced at how Tanjiro barely dodged multiple knives coming towards him, and the pit full of spikes. The scene then focused on Midoriya. I've been training non-stop with Tanjiro. The sharp pain I've been feeling. It's from the 4th user of One for All. A picture of a man with very slightly long, blonde hair flashed on screen and then quickly disappeared to Midoriya's determined face continuing to run down the mountain. The bolt appeared on his head, dodging a knife that would have impaled him right in the middle of his head. Danger sense. Some people in the class murmured in confusion. One for All. 4th user? Who's that guy that popped up on the screen? All Might grew nervous and sweat dropped. His thoughts are going to reveal the secret of One for All. The stabbing feeling has been getting a lot fainter, and it's been helping me with dodging and avoiding traps. I know I'll be able to pass final selection. We both will. The scene blurred into one where both Tanjiro and Midoriya were now holding swords, running down the mountain. Tanjiro suddenly got swooped into the air when a rope grabbed onto his leg. Midoriya turned worriedly to Tanjiro. Are you okay? Midoriya tried to ask but ran straight into a tree. Urokodaki smacked the forehead of his mask. Everyone burst into laughter, even some of the teachers, when Midoriya flopped backwards onto the ground paler than a sheet of paper, and Tanjiro dangling in the air flailing his arms in panic. The scene changed to where Midoriya and Tanjiro were swinging their swords repeatedly. They reached the count to 1,000. Urokodaki demanded they do 500 more and the color of both boys seemingly drenched away. The people who were still laughing at the earlier scene were laughing even harder now. Just when they think they're done, Midnight shook her head giggling. It was dark. Tanjiro was shown sleeping while he was writing in his journal. A hand was gently placed on his shoulder, but even that was enough to scare him awake. He yelled, making Midoriya, who was the owner of the hand, yell in surprise. He immediately started apologizing and Tanjiro waved his hands. No, it's okay, really. Don't apologize. All Might and Aizawa laughed lightly. Those two are so similar, they thought. Tanjiro and Midoriya were outside in front of Urokodaki. Swords are fragile weapons, Urokodaki said. Tanjiro then mentally began explaining how they were supposed to be used. Urokodaki pointed at both of the boys, threatening to break every bone in their body if they ever broke a sword. Both boys frowned in worry. A lil semi made, listen bro, I tried skull and crossbones. However, a few seconds later Midoriya put on a blank expression. I've done that multiple times already. The green-haired teen said bluntly, but he was quiet so only Tanjiro heard, to which in response Tanjiro shrieked in horror at the boy next to him. Multiple people started laughing. If I had $1 every time Deku broke his bones, I'd be a multi-millionaire. Uraraka said, flopping over dramatically. That kid is very reckless, Vlad King commented. He just admitted to being used to it. That's scary, Mina shook. Yeah, I don't blame Tanjiro for reacting that way at all, Cementos shook his head. The scene changed to Tanjiro falling down. He explained how he was trying to soften his falls and find ways to get up from any position as quickly as possible. The scene shifted to Midoriya running on the mountain alone. He was using Black Whip to grip onto the trees, swinging himself over traps and practicing ways of traveling faster, enhancing the speed in his legs. He was using a lot of his stamina. However, Tanjiro's voice was heard. Urokodaki said Midoriya didn't need to go against him after the first few attacks because Midoriya already knew how to soften his falls and recover quickly. All Might and Aizawa grinned. They were in charge of teaching the students quick recovery skills, so seeing Midoriya put them to good use and get out of the simple training with Urokodaki made them proud. The scene went back to Tanjiro, getting thrown over Urokodaki's shoulder. A few moments later, Tanjiro and Midoriya stood next to each. Total concentration breathing? They both said simultaneously. Do you guys think Midoriya is going to be able to still use all those moves if he comes back? Todoroki asked. I'm sorry, Todoroki, did you just say if? Jiro exclaimed. Icy Hot is right to say that, I mean for all we know he might die, Bakugo replied. Cries of worry came from the students. How can you just say that dash? Come on man, have hope dash. Bakugo you but. Language. He will come back. That's right, I'm going to teach you both all 10 forms of water breathing. Sakanji went on to explain how a breathing technique will be able to enhance the healing ability and strengthen the spirit. He told the boys to get into a position and breathe. Both boys immediately did as he said, only for both of them to get socked in their stomachs. Wrong. Urokodaki yelled. Everyone either immediately groaned, gasped and/or winced when they got hit. Ugh, I felt like I felt that in my stomach. Mineta said, rubbing his stomach to take care of a bruise that was not there. Urokodaki moved onto the forms. Tanjiro and Midoriya doing multiple series of poses, which returned in Urokodaki saying how wrong they were doing and getting once again hit on their stomachs again multiple times. Again, multiple winces followed. Midoriya's voice was heard. Urokodaki said we had to become one with the water. Tanjiro and Midoriya were looking down a waterfall. Midoriya closer to the edge, looking down and blinking worriedly. Tanjiro was closer to Urokodaki and he examined the waterfall area. Get in already, Urokodaki said, kicking Tanjiro on the back, which caused him to fall onto Midoriya. Midoriya, who was already dangerously close to the edge, was pushed and both boys screamed, flailing their arms in circles as they toppled into the water below. The entire room shook from the laughter. This is great. They're so funny without trying. Can't believe we find their pain entertaining. Mr. Aizawa, do you laugh like this when you give us hell? Yes. Tanjiro and Midoriya were in the waterfall screaming how they were water as they slowly went under the water. Nezuko showed on screen. Tanjiro explained how it had been 6 months that she's been asleep. Wait, 6 months? Has Midoriya spent 6 months there? Midnight asked. Wait, you're right, Uraraka said, her eyes widening. Does anyone remember how long they were training for? Mina and Kaminari gasped, looking at each other. 2 years. What? Ida exclaimed. So he still has to train for a year and 6 more months? That means he hasn't talked to us for a long time for him. Hagakure said. I would have gone insane not being able to talk to anyone I know. I just know he misses his mom. Mina felt awful for her classmate. If he's staying there for an entire year, does that mean he's going to be older when he comes back? Tokoyami questioned. The entire class stayed silent. Oh my god. I didn't even think of that. Shiro gasped. Would he still be able to be in our class? Despite being older than us. Tsuyu turned to the teachers. The students stopped talking, facing the teachers for an answer. Seeing that he has not gotten the rest of his proper hero training with us, I see no reason to exclude him from this class, in the event of him being older, Aizawa said. Not to worry, students. What Aizawa said is true, and due to us not knowing the full extent of this quirk, he may even come back in the same state as from when he left, so until then, I ask you to please not worry. Nizu smiled at the curious students. This satisfied the students and they all turned back to the T.V. Tanjiro's voice was heard, talking about how worried he was about Nezuko sleeping for so long. The screen blacked out and then the scene changed to Midoriya and Tanjiro running down the mountain yet again. Flashes of their training displayed on screen. The class cheered them on. That's it. I've taught you both all I can, Urokodaki said. The screen showed the two boys. They were breathing heavily. Obviously they had just come back from training. I can't believe it's been a year already. Midoriya said, looking back towards the forest. Multiple gasps were heard. Does this mean we are seeing a 16-year-old Midoriya on screen right now? Yayarozu said. Yep. He barely even changed. All that changed was his hair got very slightly longer, Bakugo said, rolling his eyes. Still, I can't believe it has been a year for him, Ojiro said. Well, get ready because he has 1 year left. Kaminari exclaimed. That means we are going to see 17-year-old Midoriya next, Tsuyu said. Midoriya's expression turned into a saddened one. I miss everyone. I hope they're doing okay. For all I know, time could be different in this place compared to over there. Flashes of his friends and his teachers showed. Deku. Uraraka frowned. I feel so bad for him, Kirishima said with a sad face. We miss you too, little listener. Present Mike exclaimed with a sad smile. Urokodaki told the boys it was now up to them to prove they were capable. He then told them to follow him and he led them to a snowy area where a large boulder stood in the middle. If you two cut this boulder in 4 equal pieces, I'll allow you both to enter final selection. The two boys' eyes widened in shock. Is that even possible? Tanjiro thought. How are we supposed to do that? Midoriya frowned. Urokodaki started to leave. Both boys look at each other in worry. Okay, so. 4 pieces, right? I cut 1/2 on this side. Midoriya started talking, moving to the side of the rock. And you cut it in half from that side. He pointed to where Tanjiro was standing. They looked at each other nervously and then they both put determined faces on and struck at the large boulder. To which they immediately regretted as the impact made their body wobble and shake like waves. Some people laughed at their faces. Midoriya, did your sword break? Nope. Not a scratch, thankfully. Both boys exhaled in relief. Tanjiro's voice then explained how every day he and Midoriya trained the basics of the things they learned from Urokodaki. They kept trying to cut the boulder into 4 but they kept failing. The scene focused on Midoriya. It's not good enough. I have to keep training. Midoriya heard a frustrated noise coming from Tanjiro and saw him smacking his forehead against the boulder. Tanjiro? He rushed to Tanjiro's side. Hey, what's wrong? Does that not hurt? Sato asked worryingly. I'm about to give up, Midoriya. This is impossible. Tanjiro continued to slam himself. Silence. A voice was heard. Tanjiro and Midoriya gasped and looked towards the owner of the voice, which was on top of the boulder. It's unseemly to whine. So knock it off. A boy with a fox mask and thick, spiky, peach-colored hair said. Tanjiro and Midoriya's eyes widened. both mentally wondering who the boy was and where he came from. A demon slayer bears his suffering in silence. Isn't that what you two want to be? Then start acting like it. The boy jumped from the boulder. He knocked Tanjiro back, and while in the air he charged at Midoriya, who blocked the weapon he was holding. However, the boy managed to kick Midoriya on his side. You boys are slow, weak, and immature. That's not what I call a demon slayer. Demon, he just came in and insulted them both. Kirishima blinked. Very similar to how Urokodaki talked to them when he first showed up, Shoji commented. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Tanjiro yelled at the masked boy, to which he replied he was trying to figure out what they were doing. What do you mean? We're training. How long do you both intend to keep being on the floor? Take a fighting stance. Both boys listened to the peach-colored-haired boy. Come on then, both of you. Give me your best shot. He raised his arm. Midoriya's face turned into one of worry. Wait, but isn't this a little unfair? It's 2 versus 1, and we have steel swords, you have a wooden one. You can seriously get hurt. The boy lowered his arm. He started laughing loudly, making Tanjiro and Midoriya eye each other in confusion. How thoughtful. I appreciate your concern, but do you really think you boys are capable of giving me a scratch? He's kind of really cocky. Tokoyami sweat dropped. Yeah, I feel bad for them. I know that felt awkward. Jiro laughed into her palm. Suddenly the masked boy started running quickly. He attacked Midoriya first. He struck, but Midoriya blocked him. Rest assured, there is nothing to worry about. I am far more powerful. I've already cut through Umai boulder. Midoriya grunted from the struggling. Hear that, Tanjiro? It is possible. Midoriya yelled. Don't look at him. Pay attention to the opponent in front of you. Sorry. A few giggles were heard in the living room. Oh my god, problem child. Aizawa closed his eyes and pinched the edge of his nose. The boy suddenly jumped, making Midoriya stumble backward. The masked boy jumped onto a tree behind the green-haired teen and launched himself towards Tanjiro at a rapid pace. Tanjiro turned around and was barely able to block his attack. Midoriya's thoughts were shown. He's so fast. The masked boy was now practically flying and zipping through the air around them. He made Midoriya fall back next to Tanjiro and knocked both boys on the ground. You both obviously haven't learned anything. You haven't mastered any of your training. Especially total concentration breathing. Didn't Urokodaki teach you? All you've done with your training is memorize the information. The masked boy pointed at them with his wooden sword. Both of your bodies still have no clue what it needs to do. What the hell have you two been up to for a year and a half? He struck at Tanjiro. Midoriya ran towards him trying to strike, but the masked boy blocked, doing a flip mid-air and landing gracefully a few more feet away, but he took a fighting stance. All of it has to be hammered into your flesh. He's tough. Mineta shuddered. It was already ominous enough that he had a mask on. The boy continued to attack, screaming they needed to do more, that they must never forget the secrets Urokodaki shared with him. Both Tanjiro and Midoriya argued back that they were trying their hardest. Both of you need to man up. Don't you guys want to be demon slayers? There's nowhere else to go but forward. Show me what you're capable of. He screamed, but a few seconds later both teens were knocked to the ground. Tanjiro passed out. Midoriya, still conscious but on the verge of passing out. The scene showed how dizzy his vision was. Come on, Midoriya. Tanjiro. You guys know you can do better than that. Sigh. Did you really just say the word sigh? I question all of your sanity sometimes. A girl with black hair and green-blue eyes suddenly came into view, and she was smiling softly. I'll leave the rest to you, the boy said, and the girl nodded. Ah, she's so cute. Uraraka squealed. What would a young girl like her teach them, I wonder? Vlad King asked. It was now nighttime. The young girl and Midoriya were looking down at Tanjiro as he slowly awoke. He gasped. Sitting up, he looked at Midoriya and the girl. Did you guys see that? That guy's swing didn't lose an ounce of power. It was so appealing. Midoriya smiled, rubbing his neck sheepishly. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Do you think we'd be able to do that? Tanjiro started rapidly shaking Midoriya's shoulder, and the green-haired teen looked nauseous. We have to learn how to do that. Wait, is it even possible? Tanjiro? After the beating you guys took, I don't think you should be shaking Midoriya like that, man. Siro's sweat dropped. He looks like he's about to throw up. BGMI said worried. The young girl smiled reassuring she was positive it was because she'd be looking after them. The boys looked at her. She's cute. She's adorable. She reminds me of Eri. Everyone frowned when they saw their student/classmate on screen frown. They all knew he missed the young girl a lot too. Tanjiro asked the girl who she was. And his voice was later heard saying how the girl's name was Makomo. The boy he and Midoriya fought was named Sabito. He explained how Makomo pointed out all their wrongdoings. At least they're not getting any more harsh treatment from Sabito, All Might chuckled. The girl told the boys how there were more children like her and Sabito that were always watching both of them. Midoriya's stance grew uncomfortable when she said people were watching him train, without his knowledge. He mentally hoped he didn't make a fool of himself while training. The class let out some nervous chuckles. Well, we saw lots of moments. Oh, don't worry, Midoriya, people aren't just watching you while you train. Makomo explained how total concentration breathing accelerated the blood circulation, which spiked the temperature of the human body with the strength of a demon. She explained how blood gets excited when air enters them, and how this breathing technique was crucial to getting stronger. Midoriya and Tanjiro gave majorly confused looks. What? None of that makes sense. It went through one of their ears and it came out the other, Aizawa said disappointed. A couple of laughs were heard after the black-haired man said that. So how do we learn that? Midoriya asked. Train until it kills you because really, when you get down to it, there's nothing else you can do, Makomo replied. How did she say that with a smile on her face? Bakugo made an annoyed but at the same time blank expression. Tanjiro's voice was heard. So that's how me and Midoriya went on. We trained until we felt like our limbs were going to fall off. An image of Tanjiro and Midoriya looking absolutely exhausted flashed on screen, then to one where Sabito was beating them both. 6 months later. That changed. Gasps were heard. Oh my god, hold on to something, we are going to see 17-year-old Midoriya, Mina said grabbing her neighbor, who was Kirishima. The screen showed Tanjiro and Midoriya. Midoriya was slightly taller than Tanjiro and his hair grew to barely above his shoulder, almost touching. Tanjiro's hair was much longer than his, touching and going even a little longer than where his shoulders were. They were looking at Sabito. Whoa, almost the entire class said looking at their new appearances. Even the teachers were interested in Midoriya's new appearance. He was almost an adult. It took you both 6 months, but you both look like you finally belong. Sabito said, pulling out a sword that was made from steel this time. This is the day we win, we know it. Tanjiro exclaimed. The class and even some teachers started cheering for them. It was over in an instant. The 3 boys charged at each other, Tanjiro striking from the top and to the bottom, Midoriya striked from left to right, carefully making sure he didn't hit Tanjiro. Sabito's mask broke apart into 4 pieces, making the boy gasp. The class's cheers grew louder when Tanjiro and Midoriya struck first. Tanjiro and Midoriya gasped slightly when they realized they saw Sabito give a small sad smile to them, despite having destroyed his mask. Makomo spoke up saying how the 2 boys did great and to never forget about this moment. Keep winning for us, Tanjiro, Midoriya. The next one too, she smiled at them before seemingly disappearing into a mist. The cheers quieted down. Tanjiro and Midoriya turned around and realized Sabito was also gone. When the mist cleared, the boys realized they weren't even next to each other but on the respective side they chose to slice the boulder in. Both boys' voices were heard as they thought the exact same thing. We didn't slice Sabito's mask. It was the boulder dash. A split screen of both boys' shocked faces were shown on screen. The episode ends. Everyone started yelling in excitement. They did it! Oh my god, they split the boulder into 4. I knew they'd be able to. Do you guys think plot armor exists with Midoriya being there? I was worried for a little. Can't believe they barely won a 2v1 ow dash. What's wrong with you dash? Be proud. Aizawa stood up. All right, everyone quiet down. Not a single student listened, having too much excitement in their bodies to listen. This annoyed him. If you guys don't quiet down in the next 2 seconds, we are not watching the next episode dash. It was like Aizawa blinked and everyone was dead silent and staring at him with sparkles on their faces in their spots. He exhaled. All right, Bakugo, you can press next. Click. Next episode. The scene started out with both boys still staring at the giant rock they split. Midoriya and Tanjiro turned around when they heard footsteps growing closer. Urokodaki had shown up. He first inspected Midoriya's split of the boulder. He waved his hand signaling Midoriya to stand next to Tanjiro, and then he went to inspect Tanjiro's split. To be honest, I had no intention of sending either one of you to final selection. Midoriya and Tanjiro gasped lightly, their eyes widened in shock at Urokodaki's words, because I didn't want to see any more children die. Aizawa halted for a moment to take in Urokodaki's words. He felt himself make a small sad smile. It reminded him of the amount of students he'd expel, because he didn't want them to die due to the lack of potential they had to become heroes. His mind drifted onto a memory of a light blue-haired boy who no longer walked amongst the living. I was sure you both wouldn't be able to cut through the boulder, but Urokodaki laid his hands on top of both boys' heads. Well done you two, you boys are truly remarkable, I'm very proud. The scene showed how both of Tanjiro's and Midoriya's eyes started to water. The scene focused on Midoriya. A memory flashed of All Might saying he was proud and how he could be a hero. Midoriya burst into tears. He launched himself at Urokodaki, giving him a hug. Urokodaki returned it back, and he gestured to Tanjiro to join in the hug as well, which made the burgundy-haired boy start to cry as well. All Might tried his very best not to tear up at the scene that was tugging at his heartstrings. He failed. Everyone else was both sad and proud for Midoriya, Tanjiro too. 2 years of working hard, they both deserved so much. Make sure you both come back alive from final selection. Tanjiro, your sister will stay here with me until you return, Urokodaki said. The scene then changed to Midoriya and Tanjiro looking down. Urokodaki was preparing food. He said they should celebrate for both of their hard work throughout the 2 years. The boys thanked him as they grabbed the bowls from him. Urokodaki's words were heard. Tanjiro, Midoriya, I'm afraid there is nothing else I can do for you boys. After today you both will face unimaginable hardships. You both rest up and sleep soundly in peace for one last time. One last time? For real? Present Mike asked. Well, they are about to fight man-eating demons, Todoroki responded. The scene changed to clippings of burgundy hair falling towards the ground. Midoriya was helping Tanjiro trim his hair. Midoriya's hair had already been cut back to the shorter curly and fluffy hair he had than the day before. I kind of liked Midoriya's longer hair, it suited him, Jiro commented. Really? I like Midoriya's original hair, Shiro added. Urokodaki suddenly spoke up. Hey, Tanjiro, Midoriya, what did you think of the hot pot? Both boys paused and looked up at him. It was so good. Midoriya exclaimed with a big smile, spreading his arms out. Yeah, it was great. I haven't feasted like that in a while, Tanjiro replied. Sounds like they've had nothing but plain bread for a long time. If that was their reaction, Momo said. Yaoyorozu, did you see the food? It looked bomb. Kaminari exclaimed. Urokodaki responded with, growing boys such as you two will get bigger and stronger the more you eat. The same applies to demons. Both boys' faces suddenly turned into a neutral but serious face at the mention of demons. Remember that. The more humans a demon has eaten, the more powerful they'll be. That's so creepy, Shoji shuddered. Murmurs of agreement followed. So if they've eaten a lot they'll be tough to defeat? Tanjiro asked, and Urokodaki confirmed it to be correct. He explained how demons' physical appearance, attributes, change, and how they even learn how to do strange spells called blood demon arts. Urokodaki opened a compartment with 2 masks. Midoriya, your powers can almost be considered as one of those arts, making you scarily similar to them in both ability and strength. Make sure to be smart when using them, Midoriya nodded. Tanjiro, with your sense of smell developing further, you'll soon be able to tell how many souls a demon developed. He then suddenly handed them both a mask, Tanjiro asking what it was. It's called a warding mask. I've imbued it with a spell that protects the wearer from harm. The boy inspected the masks. I cannot wait to see the absolute shock on the demon's face when they see Midoriya using his quirk, Mina said excitedly. What if they think he's a demon? Or half demon? Kaminari paused, looking confused, pondering about what others would think of his abilities. Half demon? Kaminari, what are you on about? Jiro rolled her eyes. I mean, Urokodaki did say his quirk was like demon arts, Sato said. His quirk really is powerful though. I wonder how he will balance the use of his sword as well as his abilities, Midnight wondered. What if his punch is so powerful he can blow demons' heads off? Why would you put that image in my head? Uraraka sighed. The scene changed and it was morning now. It showed the boys putting on a blue haori with clouds imprinted on them. Tanjiro went to where his sister was sleeping and promised to come back no matter what. She's really been asleep for 2 years? Vlad King asked. A few students nodded. That's gonna be me after final exams, Mina said, giggling as some of her classmates laughed at her joke. The two boys were standing in front of the small house. Urokodaki told Tanjiro he'd be there protecting his sister. He told the two to take care of themselves and to be careful. The boys nodded and they waved goodbye. Say hi to Sabito and Makomo for us, Midoriya yelled. Urokodaki's hand that was used to wave back at them faltered. Midoriya. Tanjiro. The scene suddenly switched to one where Sabito and Makomo were shown glowing in a black background. How do you know the name of the deceased? Multiple gasps were heard in the living room, mostly coming from the teachers. If they were dead the entire time? All Might's eyes widened. But how? They were all training together? Cementos said. This truly was a horrific turn of events. Tokoyami shook his head. The scene changed to Midoriya and Tanjiro going down a path surrounded by glowing purple trees. Midoriya had a big smile on his face, dragging his hand along the purple flowers. These look so appealing. Midoriya exclaimed. Tanjiro laughed lightly at Midoriya's reaction. They're called wisteria flowers. They seem to be all over the place, but I thought they were out of season. Gah! They look so appealing. Hagakure cried. I wish wisteria flowers glowed like that here, Yayorozu said. Deku should totally bring some flowers when he comes back, and see if they glow. Uraraka exclaimed, her eyes glittered. You mean if he comes bw dash? The boys were now atop of a hill, other swordsmen were nearby. Midoriya and Tanjiro walked forward. There's a lot of people, Tanjiro whispered to Midoriya. The green-haired made in agreement. Some of these poor souls aren't going to make it out alive. Midoriya looked towards the ground. He couldn't bear to see which of those would not be seen again. Suddenly 2 young voices were heard, greeting the swordsmen and how they've entered the Demon Slayer Corps' final selection. The young girls explained how the wisteria trees prevent demons that have been captured and left on the mountain from leaving. They explained how they will have to survive for 7 days on the mountain, and told them they will be beginning now. Midoriya and Tanjiro flashed determined faces. An entire week, huh? They better not get killed, Aizawa said. It's Midoriya and Tanjiro, they'll both get out alive, I just know it, Kirishima said confidently. Not a trace of doubt was seen on his face. The scene changed to both of the boys running. Midoriya, we can't think about literally anything but surviving. Tanjiro exclaimed. Don't worry, Tanjiro, we'll make it. We just have to look out for each other, Midoriya replied. Let's head east. Sunlight will hit there first, so by then the demons won't be able to do anything and we can rest. Smart, Present Mike complimented the boys' thinking. Suddenly, the camera showed Tanjiro smelling the air and Midoriya's danger sense activating. They both halted standing guard back to back. They both knew it was a demon nearby. A memory suddenly showed of a night where the two boys were training. Midoriya was explaining to Tanjiro about the awakening of danger sense. Tanjiro had stars in his eyes and praised Midoriya for being so cool for having all these abilities, which caused the green-haired boy to turn a shade of pink from the compliment. Some laughs echoed around the room. It's so crazy that Midoriya developed a sense where he can detect danger. Does he have multiple quirks or something? Shiro commented. Midoriya? Having multiple quirks sound crazy, Ojiro said, but then sighed. But it's possible. Yeah, like Todoroki has fire and ice. Mina exclaimed. But those correlate. How does Midoriya's strength enhancer have a connection with black tendrils and the ability to detect danger? Yayorozu questioned. They're completely different. Some students stopped to think. Other students blanked. What Ash? All Might's grip tightened nervously. I don't think we should pay so much attention to it right now. Let's just be glad Midoriya has those abilities and is able to fight to see another day. Kirishima made a fist in the air. All Might thanked the boy in his mind. Tanjiro and Midoriya were seen eyeing the forest nervously when suddenly they realized the demon was coming from the top. They quickly dodged out of the way. A demon with blue hair and crazed eyes were shown. The demon laughed creepily. "Tanjiro, behind you!" Midoriya yelled. Tanjiro gasped at the sudden ambush of another demon. He blocked with his sword. Midoriya made his way to Tanjiro when all of a sudden the two demons began arguing with each other over their prey. "Seriously, Dash? There's actually no way." A few laughs were heard around the room from the unnecessary arguing from the two demons. Others were too concerned over Midoriya's well-being for this trial to be able to laugh. The demon eventually stopped and decided to attack the two boys simultaneously. Tanjiro and Midoriya's grip tightened on their swords, dodging their attacks as memories of Urokodaki's teachings went through their heads. They slashed the heads off both demons, standing in shock of the aftermath. The demons faded away. Someone in the audience cheered at their first demon kill. Tanjiro began tearing up, knowing his training wasn't all for nothing. Midoriya, however, started breathing roughly. "I killed a demon," Midoriya thought. Tanjiro grew worried for the boy, his face full of concern. "Midoriya? Hey, what's wrong?" "I actually killed someone." Midoriya brought his hand to his mouth. Midoriya knew. "Don't worry about that, it was a demon. They're bad." Hagakure whined. "You have a point, but decapitating someone can seriously be traumatizing now that I think about it." Jiru rubbed her neck. "And they were humans before," Mina said. "So is this like technically not murder?" Sato questioned. Midoriya, "It wasn't just anyone. It was a demon. A demon who has taken the lives of many innocent people before." Tanjiro said, walking towards Midoriya. He placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know it seems gruesome because of a beheading, but be glad that a demon can't harm anyone else now." "Well, if a human has lost their humanity due to the treachery of converting into a demon, then are they really worth keeping alive? After all, as Tanjiro said, demons have killed humans without mercy." Vlad King scratched his head. "Is Midoriya gonna get charged with murder when he comes back, Dash?" Mineta panicked, looking at the teachers. "Would you rather him not do anything when something is trying to actively kill him illegally?" Todoroki gave him a look. Aizawa sighed. "Todoroki is right. Under these circumstances, he is fighting man-eating demons. This is a kill or be killed situation. After all, as Vlad King said, they aren't really humans in that world. They murder the innocent without remorse." Kill or be killed sounds absolutely cold. Kaminari had chills run down his spine. Bakugo rolled his eyes. Midoriya looked at Tanjiro with sad eyes, but he lowered his hand and sighed. "Yeah, you're right, Tanjiro. It just feels so wrong." Midoriya shuddered, putting away his sword. Tanjiro smiled, knowing he could be a bit of help to Midoriya. He looked towards where the bodies of the demons used to be. "Wow, nothing gets left behind after being slashed by these types of swords, huh? Not even the bones." A memory plays of Urokodaki explaining how there are specially built swords called Nichiren swords. They are made solely to kill demons at the necks, where the demons are weakest. "Huh, I wonder how come normal swords aren't able to behead demons?" All Might questioned out loud. "I'm more concerned about how long it took to find out." Midnight chimed in. The screen went back to the boys, and suddenly Tanjiro plunged his nose in disgust. Another slayer had yelled and ran through the forest, near the two boys, complaining about the trial. Tanjiro grew horrified. He hid behind a tree, grabbing Midoriya by the arm and roughly moving him behind as well. "What is that?" Ida asked, his face looking disgusted. "A demon?" Midoriya asked, not being able to get a good look. Tanjiro nodded. A gigantic green demon trotted along the forest. Suddenly the screen switched to the voice of the young girl Makomo. "Hey, Sabito. Do you think Tanjiro and Midoriya can beat him?" The pink-haired boy sat atop of the boulder. "I don't know. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough. You know that well yourself, don't you?" Makomo looked up at him with saddened eyes. The panicked Slayer boy tripped. He yelled about the mutated demon. Said demon walked slowly, carrying a human's body in its grasp, lifting it and devouring it whole. His body got larger at his meal. "Ugh, that's so gross." Jiraiya shuddered. Poor dude. Kirishima brought a hand to his mouth. I don't think we can really acknowledge how disgusting and horrifying this is for Midoriya in real time as it is on TV. Tsu's stomach turned at the body being eaten. We should probably send him to counseling with Hound Dog after this whole situation. Aizawa crossed his arms. Yeah, no kidding. Present Mike agreed. The demon's body mutated around his arms. He reached for the dark-haired boy. Tanjiro panicked. Midoriya immediately jumped into action, slicing the arm of the demon before he could do anything with the random slayer. Tanjiro looked at him in awe with how quick his reaction time was. Up. He wastes no time. Uraraka cheered. Remember to always be on guard. Something can ambush when you least expect it, All Might said to the group of teens. Tanjiro ran out from behind the tree going to join Midoriya at his side. The demon's eyes grew wide. Would you look at that? 2 sweet little foxes have come to me once again. Again? What is this guy talking about? Tell me, little fox cubs, what year of Meiji is it now? The demon asked. Midoriya looked towards Tanjiro, who grunted, it's the Taisho PRD now. The demon moved his eyes in confusion, when suddenly he let out a scream. Some people jumped at the sudden screaming. DMN dramatic much? Jiraiya laughed. Already dash? Time has passed into a new PRD? Again while I've been held prisoner inside this place. The demon screamed angrily. The 3 swordsmen looked up in horror and shock at the tantrum the demon was currently throwing. Suddenly the demon started cursing Urokodaki. What did Urokodaki do dash? You know Urokodaki? Tanjiro asked nervously. How? Midoriya added. The demon looked down responding, I know him, all right. Because Urokodaki is the one who captured me and brought me here. I'll never forget that day 47 years ago. Back when he was still hunting demons. The Edo PRD during the KO era. No way. Edo PRD? Tanjiro said in shock. He's been trapped in an unescapable forest for 47 years? Vlad King exclaimed with wide eyes. I would have lost my mind, no doubt, Karo, so you said? Tia's guy has been here for 47 years? And he hasn't gotten killed? Midoriya questioned. The boy behind Tanjiro and Midoriya accused the demon of lying. No demon could ever live that long in here. Besides, all these demons have eaten a few humans. They die in final selection, or they end up eating each other. Cannibalism at its finest. Aoyama said. Numerous people seemed to simultaneously turn their heads, slowly, in absolute distraught at the blonde-haired teen who somehow kept his smile. Aoyama what dash? And yet I've managed to survive all this time, the demon taunted. Trapped inside this wisteria prison, I've managed to devour at least 50 of you demon brats. The demon began counting. He pointed to Tanjiro and Midoriya. That makes you 2, 14 and 15. What are you talking about? Tanjiro yelled. Explain yourself. Midoriya furrowed his brows, his grip tightening on his sword. The demon giggled into 3 of his surrounding hands. That's the number of Urokodaki's students I've eaten. He cackled. I promised myself to kill every one of his students. Poor Urokodaki, he didn't deserve that. Hagakure placed her hands under her chin. Yeah, but talk about the kids he sent off that got brutally murdered by this squashed-looking pair. Jiraiya stared at the screen blankly. Tanjiro and Midoriya gasped in horror. Let's see, the one who particularly stands out to me are those 2. Ah yes, the boy's hair was peach-colored, a scar laid by his mouth. He was the most powerful of the brats. The other female brat wore a flowery kimono. She was small and lacked strength, but was awfully agile. The shadows of Sabito and Makomo played on screen. Tanjiro and Midoriya gasped. Midoriya looked absolutely angry. Tanjiro had a more saddened look. And Midoriya looks absolutely livid, Ojiro commented. Uraraka, Tsu, and Kirishima got the same flashbacks of the time their agencies had saved a light blue-haired girl. Yeah, that guy does not play when it comes to protecting kids, Kirishima said. But they were just kids. Midoriya grit his teeth. They had already been killed by this demon? Tanjiro thought, but me and Midoriya were with them. Alas, the 2 young souls were only present to guide our protagonists to the otherworldly wonders that they had failed to experience. only because fate had driven them to the gruesome date of death. Tokoyami held his hands together, closing his eyes. What he didn't know was the amount of stares he got in return. It was not that deep, bro. Tokoyami, who the hurt you? This man is a poet. The demon used his many hands to point. That mask. I can tell who are Urokodaki's brats. They are textured and carved to match the style of the Tengu mask. He calls them warding masks, right? Everyone got eaten just because they were wearing them. They are all inside my belly. It's as if he's guided them to their deaths. The demon cackled, explaining how he slaughtered Mikomo in great detail. That poor girl. Midnight had a saddened expression, bringing her hand to mouth. I'm glad they at least semi-censored it. That would have been even more horrifying, Shoji shuddered. Midoriya had heard enough. He was seething. He charged up one for all in his legs and in his right arm. He flew towards the demon. Tanjiro screamed as he charged, "How could you dash?" Sabito appeared. "Both of you need to focus on your breathing, forget about us." The demon threw a punch at Tanjiro, sending him flying towards a tree. "Tanjiro!" Midoriya screamed, immediately activating Black Whip, catching him just in time to not further damage himself. "Oh, thank God, dash. Nice save, Midoriya." "Phew. What the hell is that?" The demon asked in surprise. The reflection of Midoriya's Black Whip in action showed in his close-up eyes. The random male slayer looked back towards the two swordsmen at battle with the demon. "I'm getting out of here while the demon's taking out those guys." He began to run. "This is how you thank your rescuers?" Ida facepalmed. "Ungrateful son of a dash." Bakugo glared at the screen. "Off with his head." Kaminari yelled angrily. "No matter." The demon thought, "They will both be coursing through my stomach soon." He laughed. "I wonder how Urokodaki will feel when another duo of his children don't come home. Oh, how I wish I could just see the look on his face. I wonder how you're going to feel when Tanjiro and Deku kick your butt." Bakugo smirked. Midoriya quickly looked towards Tanjiro, who had trouble keeping his eyes open after the intense whiplash of getting aggressively thrown and caught too quickly. "Come on, Tanjiro, I need you to stay with me," the green-haired boy yelled. However, the other boy lost the battle and lost consciousness. The demon extended his hand towards Tanjiro. Using his quirk, green lightning crackled near Midoriya's legs as he launched himself toward the unconscious boy. The bushes and tree leaves shaking behind him from the air force. Midoriya slashed the demon just before it was able to land a hand on the boy. "Don't you touch him. You brat. Just how in the world are you doing that? No such speed can come from some mere human like you." The demon screamed in anger. "Well, that's because he's not exactly from any world you come from," Todoroki answered the demon's question. The scene changed to complete darkness. "Tanjiro!" A young boy's faint voice was heard. "Tanjiro!" Suddenly a black-haired boy was seen in front of Tanjiro. He was upside down screaming his name yet again. The burgundy-haired boy awoke gasping harshly. He quickly turned on his feet seeing the situation. "Midoriya!" Izuku turned with a smile on his face. "Tanjiro! Thank God. How long was I out?" Tanjiro asked. "Just for a few seconds. Are you okay?" The other teen replied. I think so." Tanjiro readied his sword, smiling behind Midoriya, knowing he protected him as he was unconscious. He already knew he could trust him with his life. "Up. That's our Midoriya." Ida.